Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's market wrap up. It's Thursday, June 6th, and we're wrapping up the futures market for the end of the day and get you ready for the Asian trading session happening here in the next half hour or so. Let's first look at the dollar. The dollar has really kind of gone nowhere this week. When it all is said and done, we're pretty much right back to where we were on Monday. What you'll notice here is that we're at the bottom of a bull Fibonacci level here in the dollar, and so long as we stay on the weekly charts above this 104.95 or 103.95 level, there's a good chance that the dollar does reassume a bullish stance. Now, I'm still looking for a break of this level and continued dollar weakness. That would certainly help the gold market, silver, as well as stocks takes a headwind against them out of the way. But what we're seeing still is potential bullish activity, and the fact is the dollar is pretty stable down here. So unless we get a big sell, the dollar can start to reassert itself and continue its uptrend higher. What you'll notice on the weekly chart is that we've actually seen a period of weakness occasionally, where we'll get 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, and then we'll see the trend resume. And I still think that for the time being, the trend is still higher in the dollar. So we're just at the bottom of a potential channel. Let's look and see how this weakness in the dollar has helped some of our markets, and we'll start off by looking at gold here. Gold today actually had a really good day. Frankly, it was one of the more positive days in gold in a while. What you'll know is that I've been a bit, frankly, reserved about gold here, partly because we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days where we had a big range back and forth, and we frankly just could not stay at the top of the range. Well, not only did we stay at the top of the range yesterday, but we broke out, and I'll share with you the breakout here. We're also, when you look at the slow stochastics, really starting to get some traction here. So I do think that gold, frankly, is pretty bullish here going forward. Now, that's on the daily chart, but I think the more important elements is as you break into the hourly and the 30-minute TPOs, you can see why I'm kind of bullish on gold and getting more bullish as we speak. So a couple of things today. On the hourly charts, what you'll notice is that last night we actually broke out in the Asian session. That's part of the reason why I'm going to be very curious to see what happens tonight here in Asia as we move forward. But we broke out in the Asian session around 9 p.m. last night, and for 2 hours we just roared straight up. And then the powers that be decided to sell gold at 33.73, 33.74, and they actually sold it. We had identified a potential extension, and that extension ended up breaking and failing. And when that extension broke, they sold gold all the way down to its trend channel, or its trend line. And the interesting thing is New York brought it up here at this 23.55 level, 23.54 level. They held it tonight, this morning in New York on a really pretty vicious downtrend. We went from 75 down to 53, so a $22 move down really in a very fast amount of time. And New York just reversed it and took it straight back up. So Asia bought it, Europe sold it, and then New York bought it and went long again. And then New York up here in the last really 8 hours, we went through, we saw a descending flag again, similar as to what we had last night. But this time New York defended it, and they've actually rallied gold ever since. So we've come off of these 23.69 level, and now we're trading at 23.76. And frankly, given Asia's propensity to move gold higher, I wouldn't be surprised to see gold move higher, and we move higher in anticipation of a friendly NFP number. And what does that mean for gold? Well, it means that gold could, given where we're at, start to target that 2460 level here and start to target highs on a good number tomorrow in NFPs. So, but it's NFP day tomorrow, and so be careful because stops could get run on both sides. There certainly is a longer term buy if we do see a break down around this trend line at 2363. But the fact is, I'm pretty bullish, and I would be buying breakouts in this market. So that includes tonight here and going into Asia. Let's look at silver because silver actually has done something too that will help confirm our bullish bias. We actually broke down 2 days ago on Tuesday to the bottom of this balance range. We broke through it, and we ended up over the course of the last 2 days setting up a bull flag. And really, here in silver, we could see a busting out of this bull flag channel and into new blue sky territory here in the not too distant future. That would certainly bode well for gold, as silver is a nice confirming metal. And so I frankly like to see gold and silver break out into new highs together. And that's potentially where we're at. Silver, with a move, if it replicates the move that it had today, it will easily get into new highs tomorrow. So do keep that in mind. Looking at crude oil has been really bearish all the way up until just this last week or so. We actually do have bear fibs up above the market, and that's what we're looking to trade into. In the meantime, on the oil market, what you're seeing here is you're seeing a nice channel develop. There's a couple of ways to play where we're currently at today. You've got really a good flag pattern that's developing here. It really started to develop towards the end of the day today. And what will happen is that if this flag breaks out, you've got some upward movement to the top of the channel. However, if the flag breaks out and then we end up selling below it, we're going to see a sell-off down to the bottom of the channel. And where I really would love to be a buyer of oil is at the 74.94 level or 74.73 level down here in this trend channel line at the bottom. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm looking for a breakout today. If it does, I'll go with it, but I'll be very quick to hit the reverse button and sell back through if all we do is look up above and peak and then decline. So really down here at the 74.94 is where I'd really rather be a buyer in crude. With regards to stocks, the thing that you'll notice about stocks is that I've been very quiet about stocks in the signals room. And I do want to remind those folks, if you're here watching this market wrap up, please hit the like and the subscribe button. And if you want to join me on the signals room, just send me a note, either here on YouTube or as part of the TradingView discussions that I'm currently on. I'm currently on the gold forums under Ceres Trader. So please feel free to do that. But also do a lot of stock index trading, but haven't done much this week because, frankly, we've been kind of chopping around up here at highs, and there hasn't really been a good setup. Today there was a potential setup, but this is an extension, and we frankly don't know if this extension is valid. I have my doubts because it really doesn't have any history and it hasn't traded. An extension, for those that are new to the channel, it's when your Fibonacci levels do not see a retrace, and we haven't had a retrace in the stock market in about 3 days of any significance. And so that's why we're looking at potentially this extension here and potentially seeing stocks, especially ES, move higher. All that being said, I do think that you've got to be a bit careful going into non-farm payrolls. As I said, non-farm payrolls has a tendency to increase the volatility, so I would not be surprised to see bottom of our fibs get tested as well as the upside. So, there's just not a lot to do here until we start seeing some action tomorrow. NASDAQ has a similar chart, but it is a little bit more bullish, but you'll notice here that we are trading on the daily chart, and the Nasdaq up at the very, very tippy top. And it's a tough place to be a buyer of it. As you can see, before the last 4 days, you had opportunities to buy the Nasdaq relatively cheaply. Now you don't, and so the real question is, at the top of this Bollinger Band, do you take profits and do you wait for a move down? I'm kind of in that camp. I really do think that there is a move down here in the NFP. It could be NFP driven, and then that could be a good opportunity to be a buyer on any kind of a dip tomorrow. I would say that the Nasdaq and the S&P are the strongest of the markets. The weaker ones are the Dow and the Russell. When you look at the Dow on a weekly basis, it really does look like a double top on a weekly basis, and there hasn't been a whole lot of strength. And as a matter of fact, we are trading what I would consider some sort of bear fib levels down here. And until you break out above 39,404 in futures, I think it's going to be very difficult for the Dow to sustain any type of a bull trend. Looking at it on a more on a reduced time frame, here's the 4-hour chart, and as you can still see, we're kind of in this flag, if you will, without a whole lot of momentum, and kind of in the middle of the flag. And as I said, I would be more of a bear here, so I could take a sell in this time frame and in this level. If we do see weakness in stocks overall, I do think that the Dow could be a good seller. Same thing with the Russell. When you look at the Russell 2000, Russell 2000 is also showing on an hourly basis a very similar pattern, where we traded right up to the 50% line, and then we've been basically selling off for the last 2 days. And so that's going to be interesting, is does the sell-off continue? And if it does, we do have some pretty good objectives down here at the 2019 level in the Russell, which would take us to, frankly, lows that we haven't seen in a pretty significant amount of time. We would be at lows that would be that we haven't seen, frankly, since the beginning of May. So there's definitely a little bit of a turn, but one could say that this is simply we don't know. We don't know what we don't know, and this could still be a flag pattern. We're just not really sure of whether or not there's going to be a bottom. But if we do break out down to this 2019 level in the Russell, I do think that would portend some weakness going on across the stock market. The Russell really hasn't had, it hasn't hit new highs since going back since March of 24, since April. So, we're kind of stuck, and that's part of the challenge, is that this is kind of a dynamic market where you've got Nasdaq and the Dow kind of, or Nasdaq and the ES and the S&P going up, and you've got the Russell and the Dow in a bit of a bear phase. So we'll see what happens here. Certainly split decision when it comes to stocks. A couple other things to take note. We'll look at Bitcoin here because it is an interesting chart. With the increased strength in the Nasdaq, you are seeing Bitcoin find its bid again. But all we've done is rally to the very top of this balance range at the top of Bitcoin's range. There is some setups that do take us higher, potentially into blue sky category. But we've been saying that, we've been talking about it really since the middle of May. Here we are already 3 weeks into June, and we're basically back up at that same level. All that being said, I would be constructive, bullish, and looking for higher Bitcoin values as long as the Nasdaq continues to move higher. What you're seeing today is basically it chopping at the top of its range, looking for moves higher. But we did get a nice move in at the end of May, where we've come from 66,000 to 70,000, so 71,000. So that further trend line, if that progresses, really does make a breakout seem likely. And as long as the Nasdaq cooperates, then I do think you're going to get it. It's highly Nasdaq driven because it's basically the currency of tech. When you look at currencies, there is an interesting setup that has taken place in the Mexican peso. For those that have been following the news, they elected what I think is what people would call a relatively leftist or socialist government. And they gave the government a supermajority. So there is certainly challenges that the capital markets are facing in Mexico right now. And I think that we've got a good setup here in the Mexican peso. In the Mexican peso, we see a 2 hour setup here on the fib levels, and it's been basically selling down from this level. We've traded this level over the last 3 days, and we ended up getting the sell off from our fib level, our fib highs to lows here, that ended up really starting just late here in New York. We had a really terrible 4 hour session in New York this afternoon, and we're seeing the Mexican peso on the futures contract decline. We've got a nice target. We're about halfway down through our target, so we'll be looking at it. Two ways that you can play this. You can just sell the Mexican peso contract short here. There is a little bit more risk involved, or you can wait for some sort of retrace up to the 50 to 61.8% lines ideally, and then watch it sell off. But I'll be looking at it, and there's certainly some tradable opportunities here in the Mexican peso. I do think that the downtrend that we saw from earlier in the week, it has started to go again. It's reasserting itself, and we've got some continued downside pressure on the Mexican peso. So that's the markets wrap up for today. I'll be back here tomorrow with another market wrap up to get you into the week. But again, thank you for viewing it, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.